Hello, good day, my SM viewers. This is Satellite Media. If you are new to the channel, kindly like, share, subscribe, and please do not forget to hit the notification bell. Let's look at this story, of course, coming from the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, involving Simon Ekpa. Remember that before now, there have been so many speculation about the case involving Simon Ekpa in Finland. At the point, the CDS, the Chief of Defense Staff, said that the government has submitted necessary documents to kickstart the extradition of Simon Ekpa. But for what we are seeing here, he's saying, this I'm reading from the Punch newspaper, he said no extradition process against Simon Ekpa. He go for that to say that the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, has denied reports that the federal government has commenced extradition proceedings against Simon Ekpa, a factional leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra. He go for that to say that in a statement issued by his special assistant on communication and publicity, Kamarudin Ogundele, on Friday, the AGS said the reports misrepresented comments he made at a stakeholders engagement held on Thursday in Abuja. He go for that to say that the statement reads, the attention of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Prince Lateef Fagbemi's son, have been drawn to media reports where he was erroneously reported to have said that the federal government had commenced an extradition process against Simon Ekpa. The report is untrue and a complete departure from what the AGF said at the Stakeholders Citizen Engagement Forum held on Thursday in Abuja. I think from this point, let me quickly say that personally, I'm not surprised. The reason I'm not surprised is not far-fetched, because I've maintained a position that it is almost a Herculean task to bring Simon Ekpa from Finland back to Nigeria. But let me quickly say that the government seem not to be speaking in one voice. They seem to be speaking in different directions, because at the point, the CDS made it very clear that Nigerian government have submitted documents for the purpose of extraditing Simon Ekpa from Finland to Nigeria. Listen to the Chief of Defense Staff, and we'll come back to further this conversation.
Legal action is going to be taken accordingly. So I don't want to say much about that, but I'm happy that he has been arrested. And the government of the federal government have actually forwarded most of the requirements to the Finnish government. So I'm sure the right thing will be done.
The statement that came from the Chief of Defense Staff actually portrayed the government to have started the process. But personally, I think I have been very clear on this, that it is going to be a Herculean task for federal government of Nigeria to succeed in bringing Simon Ekpa back to Nigeria. The reasons are not far-fetched, because number one, Nigeria do not enjoy extradition treaty with Finland. For you to kickstart the process of extradition, definitely you must have had extradition treaty with the country. And this time around, Nigeria do not have such. I understand that Nigeria have extradition treaty with countries like United Kingdom, United States of America, and all that. But it's not on record that they have such treaty with Finland. Then secondly, we are talking about this man Simon Ekpa himself, of course, someone who has since renounced his citizenship of Nigeria and returned even the gold medals, the medals he won on behalf of Nigeria during his time of athletics back to Nigeria. So it is not even certain whether at that level, even if there exists a extradition treaty, whether you can extradite someone who have since renounced your citizenship back to that country. That is another issue. Then the another issue is, even if there's a extradition treaty, or even when there's no extradition treaty, and the country involved can as well decide to use their discretion. But in the event of using discretion, it must conform with world-based international standard. That is why someone like Mazana Dekalo, the process through which he was brought back from Kenya to Nigeria has since been described as extraordinary rendition. Of course, we saw court in Nigeria talking about court of appeal that ruled that Nnamdi Kanu was extraordinary rendition from Kenya to Nigeria. And if they were to even use their discretion to start such process, that it will not happen without even Simon Ekpa himself having the opportunity to defend himself in a court in Finland, where he will provide reasons why he may not want to come to Nigeria. Remember that Nigeria have history of human rights violation. history of disobeying court orders. Of course, that will be handy in the hand of anyone that perhaps Nigerian government is seeking to extradite from any part of the world to Nigeria. But the point is, let us even look at what does Nnamdi Kanu stand for. What is agitating people to seek to secede from Nigeria? Number one, you cannot take away the fact self-determination is a right. Of course, it's a UN charter that has been ratified in Nigeria. So to that extent, it's already a law in Nigeria legal jurisprudence. And someone like Nnamdi Kanu have made it very clear that he stands on self-determination, and he have been calling on world bodies, world leaders to come and organize referendum here in Nigeria to enable people decide where they want to go. And recently we have seen serious level of insecurity in Nigeria, occasioned by the excesses and high-handedness on the parts of Fulani military. And this is part of the reasons we are seeing agitation for people to secede from Nigeria, because as it stands, the government seems not to have the capacity to police every inch of Nigeria's sovereignty. And as we speak, the government is still have not been able to police every part of the country. We saw the killing that recently happened in Bokos and Basa local government areas of Plateau State. We have seen level or serious level of insecurity in different parts of the country. And it beats all imagination, seeing that the Fulani, who of course are not original people from Nigeria, we take territories, maim people, kidnap people, rape people, and the government seems to be handicapped. We cannot forget that these are people who came into Nigeria in sometime 15th and 14th century from Senegambia, and of course they gained their footstep in the northern part of the country, and the Hausas that get that privilege have not been able to curtail their excesses currently. And if you look at what is happening now, not just the north now, not just the Hausa, but the whole country is in for it currently. A situation where the Fulani, we understand that sometime in 19th century, they established a caliphate in the north, of course, looking at the Sokoto Caliphate, which of course is seen as the Fulani Empire. And ever since then, we have seen Fulani taking over every lofty position in the north, both political, both traditional, and that situation have not changed. But the problem, or rather the issue now, is their incursion into the southern part of the country. I understand that the incursion of Osman Fodio was stopped in the Middle Belt back then, but the disparity, the serious attention with which the Fulanis are moving into the southern part of the country cause for serious concern. We have seen a former governor of Benue State being attacked in what looked like an assassination attempt. And before you knew it, a group that goes by the name of the Fulani Nationality Movement came out to say, yes, we did it. So the point we're making here is, if the government know that they're interested in welfare of Nigerians and their security, just like the Constitution puts it, they should right to education and protect lives and property, because that is at the heart of why Nigerians, particularly Biafrans, are seeking to secede from the country. And it's not just the Biafrans. We have seen Oduduwa Nation rising the other time to say, yes, we want to secede from the country. So at this point, I think the government should realize that if they want people to stop agitating, to secede from the country, it's two things they must do. One, organize a referendum and allow people to decide where they want to go. Secondly, let us have a restructured Nigeria. And even if you want to have a restructured Nigeria, I think they should bring all interest parties on board as a way of deliberation, as a way of conversation, to determine whether we even want to continue being together as one or not. So it is after we decide that we want to be together, that is when the issue of restructuring will come in. But the way it is, the average Igbo man, Jabe Biafran, have made up his mind that he's no longer interested in anything called Nigeria. What they want is the United States of Biafra. Of course, we saw the declaration of Biafra in Latin Finland last year, and we saw how every Biafran, every woman, of course, converged in Latin Finland from different parts of the world under the watchful eye of international media. So contrary to the view and the position of the Nigerian government that have since tagged and designated IPOB a terrorist organization, the world have not actually seen them as such, because otherwise there is no way the world will watch how Biafra was declared in Finland without handling, arresting, intimidating any of the participants. So the point here is, just like evolutionary we always say, that Biafra is an ideology, and that you can only address it through ideological point of view. So I think the government should take a cue from that and understand that you must, as a matter of necessity and urgency, summon courage to bring everybody on board for the purpose of discussing this very issue, and so that we can have a resolution that will be acceptable by all, and that will lead to rest any issue that has to do with agitation for secession. We have seen the likes of Sunday Boy the other time going to United Kingdom with a letter to the office of the Prime Minister of United Kingdom talking about secession of the Oduduwa nation. And for me, let me quickly say that God by providence created the Igbos a different people, the Hausas a different people, the Yorubas a different people. However, it doesn't have a place to come together under one entity called Nigeria, but it must be through unanimous agreement, not through coercion as we have currently. Because the ground, the constitution that binds everybody together in Nigeria is a creation of the military. It was forced on the people. People were coerced. And people have been yelling, let us have a people's-oriented constitution to solve all this problem we have in our hands. Of course, we saw the confab that was organized by the government of Jonathan. Unfortunately, the government of Jonathan did not stay longer enough to see to the implementation of that report, or rather the result of that confab. But I think it is at this point I encourage the current government of Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu to give attention to that report. Of course, I understand that the report must have been gathering dust in the shape of federal government, but they should dust it and give the priority attention as a solution to Nigerian myriad of challenges. I must say very thank you for attending this, Mr. Matthew.